1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We are back with an all-new episode, and we got a great one for you today, so we're not going to hold back anything, and we're just going to get things going. My name is Aaron. I'm one of your hosts here, and joining me is the best psychologist in Star Wars, David Motters. David, how's it going?
Doing great, man. Thank you for that description. I am ready to react and look forward to having some fun on this character profile.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great show, great profile lined up for you. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to hear all about your psychology corner for this episode, because we got quite a unique character we're profiling in tonight. So, but first, before we get into our profile episode, we are going to take a step back and take a look at some news and let you know what's been going on around the saga and around Star Wars Reactions too, because we got some issues. So let's get things going. News-wise, Hasbro Fan Fest was this past week, and they announced a whole lot of merchandise that's coming out that you can currently pre-order at different places. And let me just run through the list here. It's quite an impressive list of items that they're releasing. The 6-inch Black Series collection is growing. We're getting the fourth member of Bad Batch, actually. Tech is being released. Q9-0, also known as Zero, from The Mandalorian, he's being released. Aura Singh from the Clone Wars. General Lando Calrissian will be from Return of the Jedi, is being released, as well as Koska Reeves from The Mandalorian. So those were announced this past week. But we also have a whole bunch of vintage collection stuff, which is awesome. And I love the vintage collection. I don't know about you, David, but I do. I love it's the only way you can get a 3 3/4-inch figure now is through this vintage collection. And they got released. They're releasing a whole wide range of figures. They're releasing Han Solo from Return of the Jedi indoor version. So it's got the camo cape on and everything. The Emperor's Royal Guard, the crimson clouded figure that we see Yoda throw around there at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Admiral Akbar is being released. Luke Skywalker from Hoth, so he's in that cold gear, weather gear that he's riding the Tauntaun on. Then we get a series of figures from video games, which is unique. They've been doing this with the Black Series, but they've decided to expand into the vintage collection now. With this video game collection, there's the Electro Staff Purge Trooper from Jedi Fallen Order. There's the Shadow Stormtrooper from The Force Unleashed, which was a great game, by the way. A Scout Trooper from Jedi Fallen Order, and the Heavy Battle Droid from Battlefront 2. But I think the best news for the vintage collection, and it's the one that I liked the most, was they announced that they're releasing another vehicle. And they've done this a couple times. They've done a TIE Fighter, an X-Wing, and so forth. But this one they're releasing specifically General Anton Merrick's from Rogue One, his X-Wing. He's Blue Squadron commander. I really liked that character. I wish we'd have gotten more of him outside of Rogue One. But Anton Merrick's X-Wing, and they're actually, what's unique about this one is they're actually releasing the X-Wing with the figure. Normally, when they release the vehicles, they don't. It's just the vehicle. This is actually coming with Antok Merrick. So I'm loving that. A little bit out of my price range. I don't want to. I would get hung if I tried to get that. But it's out there, available for pre-order, y'all. Grab it while you can.
Oh, well, this can break the bank, man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The one piece I did miss, though, and I just noticed it. They've been releasing helmets as part of the Black Series as well, that you can actually wear. They're wearable helmets. And they announced they're releasing Wedge Antilles X-Wing helmet. That's coming out too. That's on pre-order. I checked it out. It was like $100, I think it was. But it's electronic. It has different battle scenario quotes from like the Battle of Endor or Battle of Hoth that he's saying throughout the helmet. So really cool. That's available for pre-order as well. And that one, I think I saw the release date on that was June 1st, which kind of surprised me. It's a couple months ago they did a pre-order for the First Order Stormtrooper helmet, and that's not coming out until like September. And that was announced like 2 or 3 months ago. And now this one's being announced, and it's coming out in like 3 months, 2 months. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So check out FanFest. Hasbro's released a whole bunch of stuff, and it's really, really good. Really good stuff. So also, we got some more news when it comes to the High Republic. David, have you seen these? Did you see this announcement on StarWars.com?
I did. And in fact, this is what I've been, most recently, January, February, March, into April. This is what I've been spending my money on in terms of Audible books, and then of course the comics. I've been reading both, the Marvel and the IDW, and I'm just enjoying it to no end. I really, really enjoy it. And yes, last night I sat down and I read the description. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here a little bit. But kind of a similar setup as Wave 1 in terms of an adult novel, a young adult novel, middle grade, and then they announced, like you put in the show notes, Wave 2, kind of like Arc 2 for the Marvel High Republic comic, and also for another arc in the IDW High Republic by Daniel Jose Older. Again, both are just really fun, man. And so yes, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll be getting all the books on Audible. I'm going to continue to do it.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll continue picking them up as they come. Also in here, you mentioned the comics and the young adult novels. They also mentioned too, starting with the episode or issue 203 of Insider, Star Wars Insider. A new series called written by Justina Ireland. It talks about that Hidden Danger. 203 is going to be Hidden Danger Part 1, which of course continues the stories of the High Republic. So I'm looking forward to this. I mean, we got the Rising Storm from Kevin Scott that's coming out in June. So that's looking good. Then of course the Race to Crash Point Tower, which is the middle grade novel, also coming out in June. Then we got Justina Ireland's Out of the Shadows, the young adult novel, coming out in July. But then we got another book. This isn't even a book. This is classified as a audio original novel.
Yeah. So
it sounds to me like this is going to be like an audio book, like an audio drama, kind of like they did for Dooku and for
Afra.
Yeah, Afra.
Wow.
And this is written by Kevin Scott too. It's called Tempest Runner. And this is set to go on sale. Is set to go on sale August 31st of this year.
Yeah.
And then they got a manga book, Edge of Balance. I've heard they were talking about that earlier this year, but they actually released the title Edge of Balance. Justine Ireland and Shinya are the authors. But then the one I was not expecting, an 8x8 storybook, Showdown at the Fair, by George Mann, is coming out in October as well. That one kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what this one looks like.
Oh, absolutely. Just, you and I have talked before on the podcast. I've really enjoyed Dooku Jedi Lost by Kevin Scott, and Afra enjoyed that, and really looking forward to the Tempest Runner. It's going to be focused on Lorna D. She's one of the 3 Tempest Runners that we meet in Light of the Jedi. That novel that really kicks everything off. So I'm really liking it. In fact, I was going to tell, and I'm sure our listeners have done it, is if you go to StarWars.com and you go to the section on the High Republic, they have now put 2 different infographics on there. And one shows you all the Jedi Masters, Jedi Knights, Padawans, and stuff like that, and who their masters are, or former masters. And then there's another infographic, Aaron, that shows a really that first wave, the books, where they are on the timeline, and it's pretty fun to play around and just see what they got there. And they'll add more, as time goes on. But those are 2 really helpful graphs that have really helped me kind of organize all of it in my mind. So I'd encourage people to go there. Again, I'm loving the High Republic. I don't know if everybody else is, but I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, I've definitely been enjoying it. It's been really good. I've enjoyed the stories, and I actually have not seen those infographics. I'm actually pulling it up right now. Yeah, that's actually really good. Very detailed.
Yeah,
yeah, I like that.
yeah, buddy. Yeah.
We'll have to print these out and actually study them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of detail crammed in there. I like that. So
yeah, very cool.
Very cool. Very cool. The other bit of news is not necessarily, Star Wars saga related, but more show related. We're recording this. This is Tuesday, April 13th. This past week, actually, I woke up Wednesday morning, actually, to a notification from our Facebook account, our Star Wars Reactions on Facebook account, that our account was suspended. And we can't figure out why. All we got was we violated the rules. We don't know how. We don't know what we did. And nobody will tell us. We can't get a hold of anybody. We can't talk to anybody. We've gone through the process and requested a review of the page to try to figure out what's going on. But that was literally a week ago, and we have nothing. So if you have been looking for us on Facebook and not been able to find us, that is why. We currently don't have Facebook, essentially. The page is still there. I can log into it and I can see it as the owner of it, but nothing is being published. Nothing is being updated. Nobody else can search for it and find it. It is just like it disappeared. So,
it's like you said, for people, if anybody has any suggestions, if they've dealt with this before, reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram or email us. because we have those, and your Twitter, my Twitter, the show, right? Our Star Wars reactions Twitter page. Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Any help would be great because I'm at a loss personally. It has been to quote Paul, it's been a thorn in my flesh for the past week.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that's made me want to throw my phone across the room every time I look to see if anything's updated. But yeah, I mean, any help. I mean, we're still active on Instagram. We're still active on Twitter. Nothing is going on there, and that's what blows my mind because everything that we post on Facebook is going on Instagram and Twitter. I mean that the fact that I can't figure out for the life of me what it was, but that's the way it is. We're waiting to see now what happens. So yeah. So if you are one of our followers on Facebook, we're still here. We're still there. We're just not being allowed to be there, if that makes sense. So please hang on, and if something changes, we'll let y'all know through the show or through Instagram and Facebook or Instagram and Twitter, I should say, and go from there. If depending on what Facebook does, I don't know what to do at that point. I'm actually trying to look for other ways to promote the show as well. I know there's a lot of other social media platforms out there that just aren't as big as Facebook. So I'm starting to do a little research on those. But hopefully, this review will get finished quickly so we can get back to being, just our positive selves on Twitter, on Facebook as well. I mean, we are not changing what we do. We haven't changed anything. I don't feel, looking at what we've posted before they took us down, I don't feel we did anything wrong. I mean, I don't see anything wrong. It was our Easter post and then the chat videos that we've been posting daily to try to encourage people. So I don't know what it is. So hopefully we figure that out, and if we figure that out, we'll let you know as well. And hopefully we can get back in the game eventually. So
I'll say this, Aaron. We don't have it in the show notes, but I want to end news on a good note. I don't know if you've listened to Coffee with Kenobi show number 407. That's one of the live shows. Dan does a live one every Monday night, and then he posts the podcast on Tuesday morning. So I was driving to work this morning, and I'm listening to it. And after Dan did his top 5 Kylo Ren moments, he did trivia. He does that quite a bit. And in one of the questions, he uses our co-host, Aaron Harris, as a hint to answer one of the trivia questions. And the trivia question was, what type of wrench does Rey ask Finn to hand her in 2015 movie The Force Awakens? I didn't know it. No one knew it. Dan didn't know it. And then he gave a hint. He goes, if you have listened to Rebels reactions, and now if you listen to Star Wars reactions, there's a co-host, and his first name is Aaron. Well, his last name is a hint to the name of this wrench, and then everyone got it. A Harris wrench. And so there you go, Aaron. I don't know if you listened to it, but you were part of the show and part of helping people get that trivia question. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I'm actually have not listened to that episode yet. I normally try to watch the live show, but I've been so busy on Mondays, I've been missing the live show. So I normally try to go back and rewatch it because that's usually still there. And I miss that. I'll have to go. I need to watch it. I've just been so busy.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's
There
good. I like that. That's awesome. I'm still there.
That's okay. Yes.
Still there. I have to pop in and say hello there sometimes. Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. So, yeah, so with that, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up our news and let that be that. So, we have a great show for you today. We are actually have a great profile. As you know, we've been doing our profile series every other episode, where we take a secondary character, break them down, give you a little history, give you our thoughts, and basically looking at these secondary characters, talking about how they impacted the saga. And we have done quite a few at this point. I mean, we've done a couple. We started off with Zare Leonis from Rebels. We talked about Gregor, the clone commando, who was in Clone Wars and Rebels, and talked about his impact on the saga. This week, we're jumping forward in time to the new Star Wars live-action show, The Mandalorian. And we are taking a look at everybody's favorite Ugnaught. That's right. Welcome to the Kuiil Profile. Dun, dun, dun. I feel like I should have like Mandalorian music playing right there. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so we got a great time here. So Kuiil was a great character. He was a very interesting character that we were introduced to. He was voiced by Nick Nolte, and he was actually portrayed by the actress Misty Rosas, and voiced by Nick Nolte, which was cool to see in The Mandalorian. We were introduced to him in the first episode, Chapter 1. Saw him again in 2. Then he made his triumphant return in 7 and 8 of The Mandalorian, where he met his untimely demise in defense of the child, who we later would find out his name is Grogu. So let's take a look here. I mean, Kuiil, we don't know a lot about Kuiil. He was everything we know about him we got from pretty much the show. We knew he was a male Ugnaught who worked, according to him, spent his lifetime working to be free of from servitude of the Empire. And when he was finally able to be free, he made his way out to the planet Arvala 6, just seeking a peaceful existence, and eventually started up a little farm, and helped people out as they needed it. Unfortunately, pirates and criminals ended up making a base on Arvala 3, which disturbed their peaceful existence. Hence enters Din Djarin, who helps him rid the planet of that evil element, so he could return to his peaceful existence. And we thought that might be all we see of him, but not so fast. He returns in the later episodes, where he assists Din Djarin by taking care of Grogu while they are trying to eliminate the Imperials there. And unfortunately, he is eventually shot and killed by an Imperial scout trooper on some very fast speederbacks. So that's, in a nutshell, a very brief and quick biography there of Kuiil. So let's go ahead and get into it. Overall thoughts on Kuiil. David, let's start with you. What are your overall thoughts on this character?
Sure. I wanted to start out with just saying this about Kuiil. I really value him. I really value his character. And people might say, well, why? And, I thought about this when you and I, decided to do these character profiles. I was looking at a bunch of the ones that you had listed. You sent them to me. I've added some in there and stuff like that. And when I think about Kuiil, I think about every team, and this applies to sports teams, our favorite TV shows, movies, comics, in any of those things. You need a glue guy or a glue person, right? These are the teammates or characters that hold things together when the going gets tough. And Kuiil is that person for Mando and Cara Dune and Grogu and for Grief Karga. And so that's what I really thought about. This is the kind of character that, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni knew they needed in there. And Kuiil plays that role to perfection.
Very good, very good. He definitely does, and you kind of poured into my opening thoughts there. When it comes to Kuiil, I'll be the first to admit he was not my favorite character from The Mandalorian. Not my favorite character from the saga, but he is still a vital character. He's still vital to the story, and what I liked about him is almost nothing bothered him. He was very laid back. He was very very just easygoing, but at the same time, he didn't take no for an answer. He would not give in to violence. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to do anything like that. He just wanted his peaceful existence, and he was adamant about that too. And out of that, he produces probably one of the most famous lines in the saga now. I have spoken. It's everywhere now. And that there, along with "This is the way," really just kind of became staples from that show. And he used that phrase quite forcefully to make his point and end the conversation. We'll learn how to ride this thing. This is the way. I have spoken. That was it. No more. When he said that was the end of the discussion. There was no debating it at that point. And I like that. And he was brutally honest too. He was loyal without a fault, but brutally honest. And I think that's what made him such a trustworthy associate for Din Djarin to go to when he needed help. And it definitely would be the type of guy I would want around. I have no problem taking honest criticism. Give me feedback. I'll take it. That's how we improve ourselves. I love constructive criticism and feedback. It's not, yes, it stings a little, but that's how we make ourselves better. That's how we improve things. It's the way. This is the way. It's just how it's done. So I even though he's not my favorite, he's still a character I like and does play a vital role there. So before we keep going, talking about Kuiil, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here, Star Wars Reactions, and we're doing our Kuiil profile. Is it Kuiil or Quill?
Well, it's Kuiil, and because I think, because I know you and I have been, we finished up Victory's Price, the third book in the trilogy of the Alphabet Squadron, and of course there's.
Why I'm saying it wrong.
Right, there's Quell. So I want people to know that review is coming up with Quell, Eureka Quell, but this is Kuiil.
Kuiil. I knew I was saying it wrong. I had to make sure. I knew I was, but I couldn't figure out why I was saying it wrong. But you brought up Victory's Price, and that makes perfect sense. So I can almost promise you at some point I will say Quell again and not Kuiil. So I may just call him the Ugnaught. So
well, you always say, David, help, and I'll jump in and help. So
help me, David One Kenobi. You're my only hope.
It is Kuiil, and the planet that Kuiil is on is Arvala 7, not Arvala 6.
Did I say 7? Did I say 6?
Yeah. So I wanted to say that because I know in D&D's Star Wars book, it's Arvala 7, and then in the StarWars.com databank, it's Arvala 7. I'm sure there's Arvala 6 and other stuff is going on there, but we haven't seen that yet.
Okay. If I said 6, I apologize because I even have 7 written in front of me in the show notes.
Dude, you wrote it correctly in the show notes.
I just can't speak it correctly.
I'm here to help. I'm here to help, brother.
Carabas. All right. So, I love it. I love it. All right. Kuiil See, there it is. Kuiil.
Carabas.
Carabas. Kuiil. Kuiil. The Kuiil profile. As we continue on. Let's go ahead and continue on with that. We've gone over his biography. We've gone over our opening thoughts, overall thoughts. But favorite moments. I mean, we've seen this guy on screen, live action. We've got to see him in all sorts of situations. What are your favorite moments for Kuiil?
Oh,
David?
man, there's a lot. I'm looking at what you put down, and I love what you have, and I'll leave it there. For me, it's when he helps Mando talk to the Jawas in that second episode to get the parts of the Razor Crest back. Mando flames the Jawas, and Kuiil's just shaking his head like, "Oh, geez, man, I'm trying to negotiate between Mando and these Jawas," and so I just thought that was so fun. It was also a neat montage piece watching Kuiil help Mando rebuild their Razor Crest once they did get those parts back. I thought that was real cool. There was another part too, the whole reprogramming of IG-11. That was another montage. That was pretty cool. And then my last one is referring back to what you said in terms of, kind of these overall thoughts. And one of the most, recognizable lines now in all of Star Wars is, I liked it every time he said, "I have spoken." So those are just a few of the favorite moments that I have for Kuiil.
Excellent, great moments. For me, one of my favorite moments, actually, it is my favorite moment with Kuiil, is when he is trying to teach Din Djarin how to ride the Blurg. To me, I just got a real kick out of that moment. He's like, tries to get on, and it's kind of bucking him off, and he won't let the Blurg's not letting him near it, and he's like, I think he remembers I tried to fry him yesterday. And he's just struggling, and finally Kuiil looks at him and he's like, "Are you not a Mandalorian? Didn't your race train the mythosaur? Yeah. Surely this Blurg is no issue for you." It just kind of slaps him in his place at that point, and next thing you know, he's riding him into the sunset. It's just like he knew what to say just enough to push him in the direction he wanted him to go. He's very good, I've noticed, I don't want to say manipulating, but he knows what to say to get things done.
Well, no, this is why I love that you said this, Aaron. I really think about it as a mentor, and a bit of a mentor role. Not fully, but part of it. Not manipulative, but more of a mentor.
I like that so much better than manipulation, because he is kind of mentoring him. He's teaching him, he's teaching him about the Blurg. He's reminding him who he is as a Mandalorian, and helping him go forth. And then when he gets the child, he's like, he helps guide him with the child. It's very unique, and I love the fact, and I like how you mentioned it too in your reprogramming IG-11 montage. He doesn't see anything as incomplete. He sees the burnt out shell of IG-11, and where most people would just okay, scrap metal, he reprograms it, he retrains it, he rebuilds it. It and creates a new reprogrammed servant droid out of an assassin droid. The Razor Crest, after the Jawa stripped it down for parts, you wouldn't think that thing would ever fly again. But what does he do? He helps Mando get the parts back. He helps Mando put it back together, and she flies. Not as good as she did before, but she flies. So, he keeps almost. I want to say he almost keeps Din Djarin centered. He's not letting Din Djarin's emotions get the best of him. Almost like a Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
And I think that's why that worked really well for him at the beginning of this series for Din Djarin, because it really, you see how he acts. He walked in. The show opens with him walking into a bar and, beating two guys up and killing a third by chopping him in half with the door. Right. So, he's a fighter, and sometimes you need that centering. Because what was it that Kenobi said to Han in A New Hope? There are other ways. There are other. Oh man, I just blanked on the quote.
I know. You got me to do it too.
My gosh. There are other. Oh my gosh. There are other ways besides fighting, or something like that. Oh my gosh. I can see him. He's sitting there in the cockpit, telling him to shut it down. He's not going to get this ship without a fight. Oh my gosh.
I know. I can't do it. Oh. We can edit it in later.
Oh no, I'm going to find it. By George, I'm going to find it. There are alternatives to fighting.
Oh, nice.
That's it. I didn't even have to Google it. I was trying to type it in, and it hit me. There are alternatives to fighting. So, in a sense, Kuiil is Din Djarin's Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Moving on.
Good recovery too to get that. That was nice.
Nice. So those are some of my favorite moments, and it turned into more of a morphed into more of, honestly, why, that kind of just goes right into my why the character is important comment. Which is our next question here about him, is why is the character important? And I basically just went through it. He's pretty much, helps Din Djarin focus himself. It's not all about fighting. It's not all about. There are alternatives. By choosing to stay on Arvalis 7, he doesn't. When Mando offers him a job, come with me. I could use an engineer like you. to help out. I could pay you well. No, it's not about that. It's about peace. It's about relaxing and just making a living. And I think, and if honestly, I don't think if it was for his encounter with Kuiil, that the child, he would have gone back for the child. I think that encounter with Kuiil actually helped him realize there's more to it than just the bounty. And that, in conjunction with how way he grew up and everything, is just, I think is why Din Djarin did what he did and what gave us a phenomenal show. Not just because the writers wrote it that way. But yeah, so why do you think that Kuiil is important, David?
Oh yeah, as I mentioned before, every successful group of people, sports teams, businesses, heroes, in our TV shows, movies, and comics, they have glue people. You just have to have people that do the little things. Our heroes in The Mandalorian, at least, Mando, Cara, Greef, and Grogu, they need Kuiil to do those little things that become big things. And so to give you some examples, how about Mando and his crew getting away from Moff Gideon, the Dark Troopers and Stormtroopers without, IG-11, right? How do they do that? Who would have saved Grogu from the 2 Scout Troopers, right? Who would have cut the hole for our heroes to escape through if Kuiil hadn't reprogrammed IG-11. Remember, Grief and Cara Dune and Mando, they're all stuck inside of, the cantina there, and it's IG-11 who gets them through. Who would have gotten the back to Mando if not for IG-11 via Kuiil? And you and I know in episode 8 there of season 1, who would have helped all our heroes escape from all the stormtroopers, right, as they're going down the lava river? If IG-11, again, reprogrammed by Kuiil, wasn't there to self-destruct. And, that's all because of Kuiil. I also want to mention that, Kuiil is important in Star Wars because he models self-sacrifice, and our heroes in Star Wars model it. Leia, Obi-Wan, Luke, even Anakin Vader, when he throws Palpatine down the reactor shaft, it ends up hurting him bad enough to kill him. And, Kuiil is what, Aaron and I are calling significant background characters, and he models that. And a little side note, I couldn't take it, seeing his little hat there on top of the rocks where he was buried. That was so sad. But just such a hero and models self-sacrifice. And that's why, I think he's important. And that's why we're doing, these character profiles, because even though they are background characters, you and I are making an argument of why they're critical in Star Wars.
Exactly. And that's the way Star Wars is built. I said it a lot back when I was reviewing Rebels, and then when we were reviewing Resistance. There's no such thing as filler episodes. There's just really no such thing as filler characters either. They really have an impact overall. Even if they're only in one episode, these characters can play a pivotal role in the story, even just making a single appearance. And Kuiil is one of these characters. So like him. So with that actually brings us to the end of our profile, which means the only thing left is to hear what David has to say about Kuiil in his Psychology Corner. David, take it away, brother.
So what I've done is I went back and I looked at what we've done in previous Psychology Corners. I went back through all the ones I did for Mando season 2, all 8 episodes, and then I looked back at what we discussed with Gregor, with dissociative amnesia, and who was our other character? We covered Gregor, and we've covered Zira Leonis. And so every time we do this, I try to cover a different subject, just to help our listeners become, what I've always said in my office, is making people, good psychologists. So Kuiil is a great character for discussing anger. And some people would say, well, wait a minute, that Aaron and David just got done describing how he's a glue guy and how he's very calm and all that. And that's exactly it. Why cover anger with Kuiil? Well, to begin, anger has been one of the most difficult issues in the history of humans. And this is for centuries and centuries. And it's an issue that we would love to see humans do a better job at. And even in 2020, this past year, we've seen anger become an issue even more so because of people's frustration and all the irritations and changes in schedules and all that due to the pandemic. So I thought it was a good time to discuss it. It is a psychological issue that needs to be discussed quite often. But again, I thought Kuiil would really open it up for us. So remember, anger control is a critical aspect of life. And if you recall, I discussed it as part of EQ. And I was looking back at our previous notes, and I used the Zira Leonis profile to cover the 5 main aspects of emotional intelligence. Now, if you recall, and you can listen back at what I talked about, I went over in great detail 5 aspects of it. 2 of them are awareness of our own emotions, and a second part of EQ is the management of our emotions. And so that's why anger control is part of EQ. And so to help with that a bit, I wanted to share with our listeners something called Aristotle's challenge. Now, is that something you've ever heard of, Aaron?
I can't say that I have, David.
Yeah, and it's something that, I don't know, I wish a lot more of us were familiar with. And I learned about it, quite honestly, through the classic book, Emotional Intelligence. It's a 1995 book by Dr. Daniel Goleman. And again, I talk about it at length in the Zara Leonis profile. But at the beginning of the book, he talks about Aristotle's challenge. And let me give you the quote. And I want our listeners to hear this. And what Aristotle said so many years ago about anger is this, quote, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy, unquote. So let me spend a minute on this and just kind of help people see what we're saying here. So let's say, for example, Aaron, that, and I've had this before, in my office, where I have someone who they're angry at the right person about the right issue at the right time, but they do too much anger. And what ends up happening is the focus goes off of the person who has done something wrong, and it ends up getting shifted to the person who ended up showing too much anger, even though they are angry about the right thing and they were with the right person. And so that's a huge thing. And think about how helpful that would be if people could really focus on this, in our country here, for this year in 2021 and the years to come. But the simplified version, when I think about Aristotle's challenge, Aaron, is, and I'll point it at me. Can I, Dave Motters, be mad at the right person about the right things at the right amount, and so that's kind of a simplified version of it. But I wanted our listeners to really hear that. Now, there's one other thing, and I actually need to add it to the show notes here, is, and I don't know if our listeners know this, is that anger is not what we call a primary emotion. It's a secondary emotion. So what we know in humans is that anger doesn't come first. Actually, there's 3 emotions before anger, and I'll actually add this to the notes when we're done recording. But the 3 primary emotions for our listeners to know, Aaron, are hurt, fear, and frustration. Hurt can involve emotional hurt or physical hurt. Fear can be the fight or flight response. That's when we're fearful and we can either run or start fighting, and that would be a precursor to anger. And frustration. And I've always said to people in my office and so on, and I think maybe now that I think about this, maybe you and I've talked about it a bit, and rebels reactions or resistance reactions, that we can be frustrated with people, but we can also be frustrated with just a task we're doing in the house, and it can lead to anger. So it's important for people to know that as well: hurt, fear, and frustration. And if they're feeling that way, we can intervene at those points before there's anger. Okay, now that's giving people some background. And in the weeks and months and hopefully years to come, Aaron and I can continue to podcast, and I'll add more and more about anger, as well as other things I've covered before. But for now, I wanted to talk about anger from the perspective of Aristotle's challenge, as well as what we call the 3 primary emotions before anger. But now, let's tie it over to Kuiil. And just like Aaron gave you in the synopsis, we do that for each character before we dive into the character questions. He has worked a lifetime of servitude. If you think about that, under the empire, how miserable. And he does that to gain his freedom. And quite honestly, he probably has a lot of reasons to have and show a level of anger far greater than what he shows in the series. And I just think that's incredible, when people have every right to be angry and want to blow everything up. they're actually under control. And so the kind of the final note, and we'll wrap up, is I have, instead of letting anger overtake him, Kuiil works with those who will bring peace to the land, right? He doesn't use anger, war, or create more problems, right? He wants peace. And it's also not just about peace for him. When he says he wants peace in the land, guess what? That's for everybody on Arvala 7, right? So Kuiil's not just thinking about himself. And so that's, again, I love seeing that in people. People who have every right to be angry and frustrated and to really want to dish out a lot of pain and suffering. He doesn't do that. And so that's why I want to cover anger when it came to Kuiil and his character profile. But again, in episodes to come, Aaron and I will return to the issue of anger and look at it from some different perspectives as well. So there's our psychology corner for the night.
Very good. Very good. Love it. I tell you, I love your psychology corners. They always are so full of information, and I love learning. So
Absolutely.
I'm
glad you do.
All right. So what did y'all think, or what is everybody's opinion of Kuiil? Let us know what you think of what we've said, of your thoughts on Kuiil, or even David's Psychology Corner. You can always hit us up right now on Twitter, SW Reactions Pod, and Instagram, SW Reactions. Hopefully we will get Facebook up soon, and we will let you know when that happens. Or, of course, you can always email us, show@StarWarsReactions.com, because our website's still working. So check us out there as well. David, if somebody wants to go about talking Star Wars with you, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, our Twitter is working. At the show's Twitter site, mine is up and working, always has been. It's never changed. It is at David_Motters. And also, like you mentioned, brother, email is there, so you can do David at StarWarsReactions.com.
Excellent. And of course, if you do want to talk Star Wars with me, or anything else there, you can always hit me up on Twitter at TAHarris121079 is my personal Twitter. Or, of course, you can email me, Aaron at StarWarsReactions.com. If you have any suggestions on how we can resolve our Facebook issues, let us know. You can message either one of us or email either one of us, or message the show. That's awesome as well. We appreciate it. It would be a great help, and I'll be happy when all that drama is over. So, with that, David, my friend, this has been an awesome time.
I'm enjoying these character profiles, man. We've got more to go, and we got some exciting stuff coming up on May the 4th when Bad Batch premieres, and I'm looking forward to looking at those with you, buddy. And I can't imagine there won't be anything psychological at all in those episodes on Bad Batch.
No, not at all.
Right.
What could you possibly find psychologically to discuss about 4 genetically issued clones and a 5th clone with extreme PTSD, torture, psychosis? What could we possibly find to talk about that?
There's nothing there. There's nothing there.
Nothing there. Nothing. It's just a flesh wound. Anyhow. All right.
That's a Monty Python reference, and Aaron and I both know that.
That's actually all my daughter has been quoting now.
Oh, really?
It threw me completely off. She quoted the whole scene to me the other day, and I'm sitting there going, this. I sat there speechless, and I just wanted to be like, hello there. Who are you? What have you done with my daughter?
I'm so proud of her.
Oh, I was gushing with joy. I was bursting with joy. It's still blows my mind that she was quoting the Holy Grail to me. So
Nice.
all right. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for supporting us here at Star Wars Reactions. We appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are the best. Praying y'all have a great, great time. Stay healthy, have fun, be positive, smile, and have an awesome, awesome week. Thank you for listening. This is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.